Joseph Edward Zastrow. Zastrow was born April 11th, 1958, to Joseph and Isabel. Joe is survived by his sister Shirley Gopher, Kathy Rudolph, John Zastrow, Pam, Michelle, her husband Matt, their granddaughter Shaylin, grandson Matthew, and Bethany Howard. Joe is also survived by countless friends and co-workers from Washington to Georgia. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ron Quincy, and I was asked and honored to talk about Joe and provide his eulogy by Pam. She, as you can tell, it's a little hard for me too, because see, there's a little oddity about our relationship. Pam and I were once married, and Joe has been a friend. In fact, Joe and I always consider ourselves as co-fathers, so if you're Michelle and Bethany, that can work for you or against you. But for the whole years, there's a lot of things that we have done as an extended family together. Right, Pam? Yeah. My wife, Sue, who's in Washington, I live in Washington, and us had a lot of good times together. And it hurts to see a friend of mine go away, as equal as it hurts to watch Pam lose her best friend. So, what I'm asked today is that maybe we can be part of Joe's story. I'd like to ask you to contribute to this discussion because each of you know Joe in a different way than us know Joe, and we don't know you. So it's kind of important that we kind of hear. So I'm going to ask, with due respect, to contribute in some way. You can nod, you can smile, you can say something in agreement. Just contribute. And I'm not talking about it in a wholly, Southern Baptist kind of way. I'm just saying, be participative in this discussion. Now, some of us have a hard time speaking of this, so we have a lunch after this event, and we can talk amongst ourselves and tell this story amongst ourselves. These pictures are representative of a whole lot of things. And I want to just kind of give you some kind of flavor of Joe. And I'll start by reading a letter that Joe's sister Kathy wrote. When Joe, my brother, was born, he was so dang cute that I made my teacher come over to the house to meet him. My sister and I named him Jody. After a few years, he said, "Hey, that's a girl's name. I want to be called Joe, okay?" When I had my first child, he said he was going to be the best uncle ever to Jeff and Aaron. And he was. On weekends, Joe lived with me for a while, but on weekends, I'd wake up to the smell of burnt eggs. Joe was a terrible cook. But he was always true and blue to his family and friends. He loved Pam, his girls, and his grandchildren. He was athletic. He jogged everywhere. And he loved history and his books and his constant college classes. I would ask him, "Do you want to be a professional student?" She kind of snickers in the letter, by the way. I love my little brother so much, and I can't believe we'll never have another conversation. I hate to think about how he suffered, but he never gave up. So, Joe, give Mom and Dad a kiss for me. I'll see you soon. Love, your sis, Katie. XOXO. So, you know what XOXO means, right?
Yes.
Hugs and kisses, right? Were you aware that it stems back to the Middle Ages? And that actually even had some Christian connections? Back in those days, they would actually conclude a document by putting a cross on the document. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then they would actually put an X over the cross. And that meant that there was sincerity, there was faith, and there was some honesty in that letter. There's also some belief that the O stood for the Jewish faith. So XOXO is not only hugs and kisses, but it has a lot of spiritual value to us. And I like the part that's honesty, faith, and sincerity. And quite frankly, that's a lot of Joe. A lot of Joe. I think what I'm going to ask for now is that we can talk about Joe in like simple words. So I'm bringing up some different words, and this is the part where you can contribute. Is, a single word can describe something, but when it's put several words together, it really defines something. Defines the speech or the talk or a paragraph. So there are a lot of single words were said about Joe in putting this together. Shaylin said he was selfless. Sorry, Joe. Matthew said he was smart, passionate. And by the way, if you hear something that kind of rings a bell for you, that's the part you can contribute to. Matthew also said he was honest. I kind of like what Pam said. He was a history nerd. That's 2 words I know, but you'll get the point here in a second. Joe was not only honest to a fault, Michelle says. He actually, in an interview, when asked, and I got some laughs going already, because they probably already heard the story that he even admitted that when I was about his attendance and showing up for work, says, well, I might be late or not attend 3 times a month. Is that how it went? He was intelligent. He was a patient man, as Shaylin says. I love the story that they said that that he dressed as a clown for Shaylin's birthday up here, and all the kids were saying, "Let's kill the clown." So Joe said, "Okay, I'm going to step out and get her." Joe was known for his love of history. His models out there as an example of putting some reality to this wartime and showing the physical components of history. That's what I really enjoyed. When Joe and I would get together, we'd chat about this stuff, and I'd try to be quiet and just listen, because he was a wealth of knowledge about historical facts and things. And for that, I appreciate him. But more importantly, to be honest with you, I love that man because I could have not asked for a better father to my kids. I like what Matt said. Joe was always there for the important things. Pam was telling me yesterday that when Joe would write little notes in his school days, his name was Joe, drawn airplane, Zastrow. Patty, who is Pam's sister, wrote that today in Seattle, as the Blue Angels were flying, is what we have an event called Seafair, and thought that Joe would be there now. So, without a question, yeah. So he may be there. I mean, probably Joe's everywhere, I suspect. But in dedication to Joe, the Blue Angels are doing their thing. Joe contributed outside his work. He worked on the ski patrol in Washington for over 15 years, and when the kids started skiing, and we did a lot of things on the mountains, we'd always take turns. The grandparents would take the kids up, and we'd have to get together. We'd do birthday parties there. Joe stopped doing that because he could be there with the kids, and there was a lot of fun. Joe and Pam got to do a lot of traveling. They were Malta, Italy a couple times, Hawaii, and what's always was universal in the Zastrow house, where a lot of the photos you'll see up here, is they did everything seasonal. They had a lot of fun. It didn't matter if it was Halloween, Christmas. They did a lot of family to get togethers, and that was really, really exciting to watch that. So with that, it was a total blessing. I want to ask if there's anyone here who had like to add a word or a little story about Joe that would be important for all of us to hear together. And if you don't, it's okay. Please, Michelle.
May I come up there with you?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Michelle Hankins. As you know, I am Joe's oldest, and I have 2 dads. I wanted to share some of my memories about Joe through my gratitude, so I'm going to use my notes here so I don't get lost. Joe, if I missed a moment in life, let me take it now to say thank you. Thank you for choosing us as your family. Thank you for loving my sister and I as your own. Thank you for supporting our dreams and our goals. Thank you for sacrificing as though it wasn't even sacrifice. Thank you for loving my children unconditionally. Thank you for being physically and attentively present for every major event. Thank you for being fun-loving, for having that sharp laugh that was so contagious. Thank you for being your unique self. Thank you for allowing us to be our unique selves. Thank you for never judging people. Thank you for educating us about history and world events, for holding intelligent, thoughtful, and insightful conversations with me. Thank you for being kind and grateful to everyone you came in contact with. Thank you for your adventurous spirit, for instinctively protecting our family, for being an example of forgiveness, for making us your priority and always keeping family first. Thank you for completing our family. And thank you for loving my mother like the queen she is. For all these things, I am so grateful. Each of these small moments has exposed the great miracle that you were, Joseph Edward Zastrow. Until we meet again.
Great words, Michelle. Is there anybody else who'd like to say anything?
I think a word that comes to mind is loved. I didn't work with Pam very long, and I was always the one bashing my husband a lot. And Pam, I never heard her say anything bad when she was her husband.
I agree with that. Other words? Daryl?
My name's Gerald Lee. This is my wife Cindy. We got to know Joe and Pam up in Washington. Since then, we retired and moved back to Wisconsin. A couple months ago, we were down in Nashville. My wife was going to the doctor down there, so we decided to drive down here and see Joe and Pam. And always good to talk to him. He's always good, even though he didn't look as good as he usually does. But he was telling him, I said, I'm just trying to find things to do up there while Cindy goes to the doctor and stuff. And he said, well, what are you looking at? I said, well, Civil War stuff. Well, holy man, he took off on Civil War. And within 5 minutes, I knew every battlefield in Tennessee and Georgia. And I said, thank you, because I had some time to split down there about 2.5 months, and I went around and seen a lot of them. And I thanked Joe many times for telling me about that. But he was up, and you talk about a history buff, he was. So.
Yeah, that doesn't describe it.
Yeah, thank you.
He knew some stuff.
Thank you, Doris.
Anybody else?
Yeah, my name is Matt. And I hear everybody talk about Joe and history and everything, and I've actually sat down a lot of times and just, like Ron said,
Can you stand up
and listen to him. But the funny thing is, it almost always wondered if Joe traveled through time, because he always knew the backstory of how this happened, or how President Roosevelt did this, or why this happened. I always thought, man, that must have took a lot of time, effort, and research to actually know these things. And so he would get to talking, and he'd go on and go on. And one day I just said, well, Joe, how do you know all this? You know, and as you think about it, you look in their house, there's books and there's everything everywhere. And I just said, man, this guy has invested a lot of time and energy. And one of the things my father always taught me, if you're around people like that, just listen. Yeah. Just listen. But one of the most important things that I've learned and that I've witnessed with Joe is, I don't think in the time I've known him, I've heard heard him say no. I don't think I've heard him say, if you asked him to do something, it wasn't even like a yes, it's just like he went to do it. He just would get it done and get it done. So that stands out to me a lot, especially with his grandchildren, because he never said no at all. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to try to add that as a part to me to where, you know, if someone asks her something, just do it. But Joe, I'm going to miss you, man, and I'm going to do some reading for you.
Anyone else? You know, Joe was working very hard to get back to work. He actually talked about, you know, couldn't wait till he was going to get back to work. So he was a tough guy. And his sister was right. He never gave up. So in honor of Joe, I'm putting my hat on. Thank you.
I did not have the privilege of knowing Joe, but I want to thank